What is going on, ladies and gents? My name's Evolution and welcome to my channel. So today, guys, got a little bit of a special video for you. We are in fact on the Yamaha YZF-R125. It does feel very, very weird being back on a sports bike. I've been on the MT now for about 2 or 3 months. Words can literally not explain how different this is, the Yamaha YZF-R125 in comparison to the Yamaha MT125. This is just nuts, man. It feels so strange. It's only been a few months since I last was on this bike, but oh my goodness, I miss this sports bike position so much. Admittedly, after a long period of time, it's not fantastic for the wrists or your back, but being down here is just awesome. You might be wondering to us why I'm actually on the R125 today and not riding the MT. So that is because the YZF-R125 is due a new MOT. I'm actually getting her ready to be sold. She's just had a new rear tyre, gonna go for a new MOT today. And that's it, ready to go on to her new beloved owner. It's really sad because jumping back on her now just makes me want to keep her. But you know, sometimes you need to be realistic. I literally cannot afford to have both the MT and the YZF as much as I would love to. So since changing from bike to bike, I've been getting a lot of questions. Those of you who are just turning 17 or just interested generally getting a 125. You're still having troubles deciding sort of what sort of bike do you want to ride? Do you want a commuter? Do you want a sports bike? Do you want a naked style bike? You've got all these different style bikes out there and they're all so amazing in their own different ways, but very different as well. So for those of you asking that question, I'm going to answer your prayers today, and I'm actually going to try and do a comparison since I've got the opportunity to be riding this today. Okay, so welcome back everyone. Flew through the MOT as expected, happy days. So it's going to be a short ride back now to the normal review location. Alright guys, so here it is, Yamaha YZF R125. It's 125cc, it's learner legal, puts out about 11 kilowatts, which is about 15 brake horsepower, which is the maximum under a CBT license. Fully faired. Comes in several different colours. The one I've got specifically is the matte grey edition, which also comes with sort of some of the red decals, the red rim tape, and then I've just added some red brake cables just to add that extra little bit of flair. You've also got the red suspension spring at the rear. A lot of people add some red levers, you can get some red side lights, all these little things you can do just to sort of trick your bike out. So comparison, Yamaha MT125 versus the YZF-R125. You know, they're both amazing bikes. In terms of power, they are both very identical. In terms of the frame and the structure, again, very identical. However, the R125 is fully faired and has a sports bike riding position. So what I mean by that is your legs will be hugging the tank and the handlebars are clip-ons, so you're sort of very tucked up in the nose cone, whereas on the MT you're sitting upright with a straight back and you obtain this riding position. Both very different. Top speed, acceleration, overall performance from this little 125 engine, in comparison you'd actually be surprised, they are identical. However, the new engine, not this one but the one on the MT, is actually more fuel efficient. So you get more miles per gallon. I would personally say at high speeds, so ranging from 50 miles per hour onwards, that the R125 accelerates faster. Reason being, because of all the fairings and the nose cone, it is more aerodynamic, so that does give you the ability to tuck in if needs be, so you can get proper down. But just in general, I notice on the MT, on a windy day, there's a lot of wind resistance. You're sort of getting battered around whilst riding. There seems to be less on this, clearly because it's more aerodynamic and there's more fairings to it, and that does seem to make a little bit of a difference in terms of acceleration. Not greatly, and again, in terms of top speed, I find it easier to reach 80 on the R125 than I do on the MT, because you'll notice you're battling the wind resistance much more on the MT. But I have got 83, I believe, on the R125, and I've also got 83 on the MT. So it's achievable, but I'd just say it seems to get there a little bit quicker. But honestly, are you going to notice much of a difference? You're not really, but this is just me going through the very fine details. So moving on to the suspension setup, it's exactly the same on the MT, so no difference there at all. Rides the same, you can get it adjusted, you can spend lots of money getting it improved, but for a daily commuter it does the trick. Comes stock with these discs. You can upgrade to wavy discs for better braking performance, and you can also get braided brake lines, like I've done so on the rear and on the front, which also sort of improve your braking efficiency. But overall, braking's identical. They use the same components. They're both very sharp, as long as you keep well maintained. So very level. You know, there's no difference between the two bikes. Front and rear brakes work great. So handling, how does the MT compare to the YZF-R125? Now, personally, I'd say the MT is more agile when it comes to filtering. It's a lot more nimble, and I feel much more confident going through traffic. Whereas on the sports bike, I just don't think it's got the right seating position and overall riding stance to do it. Perhaps that's just me. However, in the corners, admittedly, this is a bike that you could definitely get your knee down if you've got the experience, whereas maybe the MT might suffer slightly. But at the end of the day, that's what sports bikes are built to do. Okay, so what about aesthetics then? See, now this one is a bit of a tough subject, because I think it comes down to personal preference. I do personally think that the YZF-R125 looks insane for a 125. This is a complete head turner. People don't expect it to be a 125 sports bike, so the fact that 17 you can be on one of these, impressing your mates, that's really cool. But then again, I am a huge fan of the looks of the MT. It's very aggressive, very naked. So I guess it is your personal preference. They're both stunning looking 125s. You can get tail tidies, you can get seat cowls which replace the rear seat, you can get tank pads, you can get shorty levers, you can get funky coloured front brake cap, funky covered reservoir cap, carbon yoke protector. You can get that on both bikes. So your availability for modifications are identical, to be honest. You can do pretty much the same stuff that you could do on the R125 than you can to the MT. And in terms of sort of performance modifications, unfortunately, there's not a great deal. You're not going to push much more out this 125 engine than there already is. It's already been built to sort of a top-notch standard. But as I said, you can do the wavy discs and braided brake lines for better braking. You can get better quality brake pads. You can get your suspension properly adjusted, which might make it ride slightly better. And in terms of the engine, sort of the important question everyone always asks, oh, how do I get more power out my 125? Well, the answer again, there's not a significant amount you can gain, but you can get a power commander, which connects into your fuel injection system, and that will sit under your seat. That's where most people have it, and it's basically like a remap. It allows you to control the amount of fuel that goes through the engine. You can also get a 180 kit, I believe, so you can go ahead and get a 180 bore and 180 piston. So essentially it's a larger displacement than 125, but again, you don't hear any record breaking sort of top speeds on them. Under this huge ass fuel tank, you've got an air filter. Feel free to upgrade to a K&N. Allows better airflow, and also it's reusable. You can rewash it, so it's always worth getting little bits like that. And then also, last of all, you do have the exhaust system. Again, it's time for Evo to cause a bit of debate here. Exhaust systems supposedly do increase performance, but again, it's so minimal that you're not really going to notice it at all. You can spend £500 on a full Aquapovic exhaust system. It's going to sound the nuts, and it's going to supposedly give you a little bit extra torque, but again, it's not really noticeable at the wrist, maybe a little bit smoother. And again, if you went to the trouble of getting it all remapped again, perhaps you'd notice a little bit more of a difference than I have. It's all a lot of money to spend just to gain a slightly quicker response from the accelerator and another 5 miles per hour top speed. It's not really worth all the hassle. So all in all, to be honest guys, I would rate them both a 11 out of 10 here. They are both top performing 125s, arguably the best ones out there on the market at present. Performance is almost identical. The only thing I'd suggest you consider is they are two completely different types of riding style. You've got your sports bike style, not as comfortable, but feels a lot more racy, or you've got your more laid back upright riding style, standard bars, not clip-ons, which is probably going to be a little bit more comfortable for them long journeys. I think it is a really hard question to answer, and I am finding it very difficult to compare the two in this video. But overall, the thing you got to remember is the MT uses the same structure and majority of the same components that the YZF-R125 has. They've just styled it into a naked edition, and some new fancy features essentially. But when you take it all the way back to basics, to the core structure and the core components used, it boils down to that they are the same. Final factor for you is price. Now, they both retail around the 4,500 mark, brand new, but I do think that the YZF-R125 is slightly more expensive than the MT. It seems that they are sort of valued a little bit higher, but we're talking a few £100 difference here. And I know, it is a lot of money to spend on a 125, but you do pay for what you get at the end of the day. I hope you guys enjoyed the comparison. I'm sorry it was only just a commentary and sort of my overview and thoughts. It would have been nice to got some footage on both the bikes on the road and doing a bit of comparison that way, but it's just not something I'm able to do. Stay awesome, ride safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.